So yesterday we went a big, huge walk up through the mountains up the back here. And we came back, oh, my feet are dirty, and stretched off with this class. So I know it works. And even Jeff is now going to use some of it. So that's really good. So all we're doing this morning, we're not doing breath practice as such. We're going to use our breath throughout the practice. And we'll be just inhaling for 4, exhaling for 4. You can use your Ujjayi breath if you want to, or you can just breathe. So we're going to start cross-legged. Remember which leg you're crossing. Come over a wee bit so you can see the mountain. And we're just going to think about 3 movements as we do each position with our legs. We're going to move our upper body in the same way. So the first thing we're going to think about is our posture up the way, our extension from our sit bones, rising up through the spine, drawing the tummy in. Hands can just be gently on the knee at this point, wherever you feel you're comfortable. Let the shoulders drop down away from your ears and lift up through the crown. So that's our extension. So we take 3 breaths here. Inhale, exhale at your own time, but about the count of 4. Inhaling up through the crown to extend. And exhaling, softening, feeling the weight move back into your sit bones. So 3 breaths. Finding that space in the extension. We're thinking freedom this week. So we're trying to free and find some space here this morning, particularly in our hips. So after the first movement, the second one will be to take our hands behind us. They may have been there anyway, further through. Just walk them a little bit away from you. And we're going to think back bend here. So we're extending and then we're going into a back bend, just a gentle back bend. So we're raising up through the crown first of all. And then we're taking our back bend by gently rolling forward from the bottom of your spine. Think of opening and finding freedom on the front of the body here. Drawing the shoulders down away from the ears and the elbows together. Keeping the chin tucked to take the weight of the head. Okay, so once you've found that heart opener, so your heart's moved forward here and upwards, then we take 3 breaths again, thinking length on the inhale. And exhaling back down towards the hips. Inhale, remember to keep the tummy engaged to support the lower back. And exhale down. Inhale once more. And exhale when you're ready. And then walk your hands, use your hands to support yourself to bring you back up to extended through the crown. Then we're taking a forward fold movement. So we're going to walk the hands forward now in front of our feet or onto our knees, wherever you're more comfortable. And then we're thinking about drawing up through the crown, finding that length in the front body before we tuck the chin, tuck the belly, and start to roll forward and round. So not straight out round to look at your tummy, move forward as well, extend through the crown. And when you find your point that you're happy at, then again, 3 breaths, inhale, exhale for 4 at your speed. Possibly having to move the breath into the back of the body. Sorry, the builders have just arrived, I think. Again, keep your tummy a little bit engaged to just support that lower back and feel the spread across the back of your hips in this position. And then breathe in and roll back up to find yourself at the extended point, crown upwards, and swap legs. Same thing. So those are the 3 movements we're doing in each position. Okay, so first thing, find the length first of all and take 3 breaths. We're thinking long front body, long back body. Think about our hips. They're slightly asymmetrical. Keep breathing. Slightly asymmetrical, but try and keep both hips a little bit squarer to the ground if you can. And then we're popping our hands when you're ready behind you. And we're finding our back bend first of all. So draw up and then move the heart forward and squeeze that little spot between your shoulder blades, drawing the tummy in slightly, no doming, keeping the chin tucked, and then 3 breaths here. So here you have to move the breath into the front of the body really to find some space. Imagine you're moving and opening all those spaces between each individual rib. Just notice where it's moved into in your hips. We'll go into that in a bit more in a second. After your third breath, roll back up using your hands to support you. Find your length again and then roll forward. Forward and inward into a little forward fold feeling here. So you may not go very far this morning. Don't push it. Just allow it to be where it is. Take your 3 breaths here into the back of the body. Maybe let the hands soften and the shoulders soften as you breathe in and out. And find some ease in the back body. Slightly different experience in the hips when you cross the legs the other way. Helpful. And then inhale, roll back up. Can't get away from the world out there. Okay, I'm going to turn the other way now. Okay, so now we take choices. Take your bricks or just keep your feet on the floor. We're coming into cobbler feet. So we're bringing our feet either onto the brick, and the nearer your bottom is to the brick, the harder this position is. So the bigger the diamond between your feet and your perineum, the easier it is. So if you find it uncomfortable on the brick, bring your feet down to the floor again. It's just as an experiment. If you want to get a little bit more out of it in your hips, pop your feet onto the brick. Okay, so we're taking the same movements again. So first of all, find your sit bones and draw yourself up through your crown. Find your posture points. Keep your chin tucked, long back of neck, and then find your breath and inhale, exhale for 3 breaths. Your hips might feel a little bit high here, especially in the brick, but as you breathe out, try and let them soften. Not your posture going, but just letting your hips soften a little bit more, and your legs might fall out slightly. And when you're ready, we're walking the hands behind us now, finding that back bend again. So inhale tall and then roll your heart up. Open up the front of your spine. Imagine the vertebrae all opening up and finding space and freedom. And then we're going to breathe in for 3 and exhale for 3 in this position. Thinking your heart lifting a little bit higher. And as you exhale, soften. See if your knees can then soften and relax a bit. You might be up in your fingertips at this point. You might find that gets you a little bit more length. Ready, you can use your hands to walk yourself forward again. If you've had your feet up and they're complaining, then put them on the floor at any point. It's your choice. So now we're finding length, and then we're going to draw our noses forward as we roll forward into our forward fold position. So think of length through between the pelvis and the back ribs. Try and lengthen there as you roll forward. Find your point that you're happy at. Maybe put your elbows into the creases of your knees just to weight them slightly, no pushing, and then inhale, exhale for 3. Again into the back of the body. Try and take the breath as low down the back of your body as you can. See if you can use the exhale to soften across the back of your hips. Now the helicopter's joined in. Okay. Inhale, rolling up from the bottom of the spine, lifting up through it, stacking it back up to the top. Feet come off the brick if they're on the brick. Take the feet out in front of you. Wide leg, windscreen wipers, just massaging through the hips. We've done quite a lot. You might just now can feel the energy in them as you start to roll them out and massage through. And then we're taking the same movement again, different position with the legs. So this time we're going to bring the brick in if you want to use the brick. You can either just take the foot in, or you can take the foot in and place it on the brick. Try it even if you don't want to continue with it, just to notice this different sensation in the hip. Try and focus your attention there as you take the movement. So switch the long leg on, switch your toes on, bring them back towards you. Draw yourself up onto feeling both sit bones. You'll be a little bit wonky, but try and feel the center point of your sit bones. Pop your hands where you feel supported. Maybe you can get a little bit of a raise up through them and find that length, first of all, in the extension. And inhale, exhale, 3 here. Now, if it's already a little bit too strong for you in the brick, take your foot back down. Don't feel you've got to stay there once you've started. Listen to your body. And then we're going to move the hands behind us again, rolling the shoulders and opening across the collarbone if we can. And then finding that opening on the front body with a little back bend. Takes the weight and the pressure off your hips a little bit more, moves the sensation. Inhale, exhale here for 3. Imagine that fresh mountain air. And then bringing yourself forward, find the length. Then we're going to roll forward here, but think extension first of all. Find some space on the front body and then move the nose. This time the nose is coming down towards your knee or your ankle as a sensation rather than rolling just inwards. Might not go very far. Big sensation on your outer hip here. So again, if you find the bricks wrong for you, take your foot down. Find the breath. Inhale, exhale here for 3. So these are big stretches and they're quite yin because we haven't really warmed up. So you have to find your first edge and wait there before the body allows you to move on to the next stage. Never force yourself into pain. Might be a little discomfort, but no pain, no pins and needles, electric feelings, anything odd. After your third breath, roll back up from the bottom of the spine upwards, raising up through the crown. Unattach the leg, help it off the brick if you're on it, straighten the leg out. Bring both toes towards you, both feet, and then let them go. And just do some pointing, flexing there. Noticing the connection between your ankles and your hip joint. Can you feel the movement? Particularly in the one that you've just attached yourself to in that position. Stop. Just notice any changes on one hip to the other. And then we're going to move to the other side. So bringing the brick in or not, you kind of now know what you want to do. If you've got one hip that's particularly sticky, you might not want the brick on that side. Listen to your body. You know it better than I do. You know what you're feeling and experiencing. Draw the toes towards you. Find that length first of all. Sit up from the sit bones to the crown. Inhale, exhale for 3. Really feeling a lift and a soften perhaps on the exhale. Maybe it's different in this hip to the other side. Notice now the difference. And then we're popping the hands behind us. I'm maybe going at a different speed from you, so please take your own time. If you go more or less than 3 breaths, don't worry. And then take your roll out into your upper back bend, really. Drawing the tummy in to support the lower back. Keep that long leg connected and attached. Inhale, exhale for 3. See if you can soften that hip a little bit on the exhale. Let the leg go. Let the knee fall out a little bit more if you can. Breathing into the front body. And then roll up, find the extension again. Coming into a forward fold. So now you might want to take the brick away. If you found this really hard the last time, might be more easeful in this hip. So find your length, tuck the chin, tuck the belly, rolling forward, bringing that nose towards your knee rather than straight down to your pelvis area. And then we're just 3 breaths again. Use your hands if you need to support you. Inhale, exhale. Try and use your exhale to let that folded legs soften a little bit at the hip. Sensation may be on the other side. It may be that your long side is still holding on. Just worth noting all these. So then roll back up after your third breath. Move the brick. Bring the feet out in front of you. Flex and point again. So we did this last night, and Jeff really noticed that one of his hip joints is incredibly stiff. But unless you isolate the movement, you don't really realize that if you just stretch out. So we're kind of noticing more about our bodies doing yoga. Okay, so bricks again or not bricks. So if you're going to use the brick, we're putting it to the side this time. You might want it a little bit higher up. You might want it on the long edge. No higher than that, though, please. So we're going to draw our knee in, the left knee in my case, flex the foot, hold the foot, lift it up, cross it over and come into figure 4. So remember here, if you've got your leg without the brick, you want soft tissue on soft tissue. You don't want bone on bone. Okay, otherwise, try it with the brick. As I say, low down might not really give you much help, so bring it up a little bit higher. Should take the weight then. Anybody that's got knee issues on the long leg might feel the weights then taken out, but it will switch on this pigeon feeling in the back of the left hip. So same thing again, find length, inhale tall, exhale 3 times. Notice that sensation build in that left hip in my case. It may not be the same thing for you. Try and keep the right leg switched on. And then after the 3rd breath, we're going to take the hands back behind us. Find that opening in the front body, reaching up and then rolling forward. Really lifting through the heart. And then 3 breaths here. If you come up in your fingertips, you find yourself able to push a little bit higher. Gives you a bit more space in your lower back, I find, doing that. After your 3rd breath, bring yourself back up to extended. 3 breaths here, inhale, exhale. Oh, sorry, no, 1 breath. Then we're rolling forward into a forward fold. So again, don't go too far. Find your point, find your edge. Stop at the edge, don't fly over it. And as you breathe, you'll find it gives a little bit more. We're only staying for 3 breaths in each position, but if you hold these positions a bit longer, the ones that you find really tight, the longer you're in them, the more you'll hit your edge, you'll go past it happily and get the next edge. That's what yin's about. Gets a bit deeper then. Inhale up. Might have been more breaths than you meant to. Help that leg over, straighten it out. Just stay there for a second and notice the difference in the hip area particularly. And then we're going to take the other leg, do the same thing. So folding up, helping that leg over into figure of 4, whichever way. Make sure you keep the foot flexed because that will save this knee torquing. Switch this toes on as well. Find that length up through from the sit bones to crown. 3 breaths. See if you can lift a little bit higher through your crown. Find a bit more space from the tailbone to crown. Find the point that it's sticky. Mine's always around my waist. Find that space if you can. And then take the hands behind you. We're rolling forward and opening out into our heart opener. Really easily opening up the front vertebrae, or the front of the vertebrae rather. Then 3 breaths here. As you do that, notice where the sensation is in the right hip. It may change in a moment as we roll forward. And then come back up to feeling long and tall again before you roll forward. Then tucking the chin, tucking the tummy to find a bit more space and support for the lower back, and moving the nose as if you're going over your legs as you fold forward. So really reaching long before you curl forward. And then 3 breaths. Finding your own edge. As you breathe out, try and soften that right hip. Notice where the sensations move to in the hip and pelvic area. Notice how hard it is to release and let go of the muscles to get deeper into the tissues below. When you're ready, draw your tummy in to support your lower back as you lift slowly back up the the top, uncross the leg carefully, stretch the legs out in front of you, and then bring them in a little bit closer, hip distance apart, and just have a gentle windscreen wipe again. Just the closer it is, the sort of higher up the movement goes into your torso. A clock here, let me just check the time. And then stretch the legs away from you. Okay, you might want to have a rock on your hips. Do anything you feel you need to do just to loosen off a little bit. So we're just going to take Dandasana now and find our inhale, exhale here in the long top, long crown, long through the crown, sorry. Posture, tummy, heart, shoulders rolled back and down the back of the body, chin tucked, long crown. Lift up and inhale, and exhale, soften down into the sit bones. 2 more breaths in your own time. Gonna pop to central this morning. Inhale tall. Exhale down. Find some freedom. So try and think space as you're moving up and down. Then we're going to move into the leg movement. Now you might want to just do this in Dandasana, the back bend and the forward fold. You want to take it a little bit further. Take the brick and put your right leg onto it, or your right foot rather, so that your heel and ankle area are supported. This is really strong on the back of the hamstring thing though, so beware, it might not be for you. It's not so bad in the back bend, but on the forward fold you will feel it. If you think it might be too strong, the other thing you can do is pop the brick under your knee is another option, which will soften a little bit through your hamstring. So choose which one you think. Have a play with the brick, a little bit of a movement, and you'll start to feel what's happening. Okay, so we've done the inhale tall and in Dandasana. So we're just going to take the back bend now. So hands behind you, roll open the collarbones, roll the shoulders behind you, take them down away from your ears, tuck your chin, tuck the tummy, inhale tall, and then open up the front of the body. And exhale. And take 3 breaths here. Switch that right leg on, the one that's on the brick or extended. Switch the toes on. Switch the other toes on as well. Engage the muscles and the tissues and the joints. After your 3rd breath, walk back up carefully, supported. Inhale tall, and we're going forward into a forward fold. So you might want to use your hands on your legs or beside you and walk them forward as extra support as you roll forward, knee coming, nose coming towards knee here rather than just straight inwards towards your tummy. So rolling forward, find your edge. May not be very low down. You might really feel it now in your hamstring. Find the edge, find your breath, 3 breaths here. Switch that leg on again by drawing the toes towards your head. Have a sensation of trying to move your hip backwards, extending through the hamstring. As you soften on the exhale, you might drop a little bit nearer your legs, so the gravity and the weight will extend that feeling. And after the 3rd breath, roll back up. Take your time. Take your foot off the brick if you used it. Have it ready and pop it on the other foot. If that was uncomfortable and you maybe know this is a tighter hip, then choose brick under the leg or choose just Dandasana. So inhale tall, and as you inhale, open the front of the body. Hands are behind us, supporting us into our back bend. 3 breaths here. Really lifting the heart if you can on the inhale. And then let it soften slightly. Opening the front of the body here, finding some freedom across the chest. Switching that foot on, which I've just forgotten about. And when you've had your 3 breaths, walk up, find that length. We're forward folding. Switch the toes on and both feet before we do. Find that length, lift up out of the pelvis and then forward fold just as much as is comfortable for you. Use your hands to support you on your thighs or on the floor, drawing your head forward towards your foot as you then roll down towards your knee. Find your edge, might be different this side. Keep the foot switched on. Keep that sensation of hip moving backwards slightly, and then breathe. Keep the tummy engaged to help support the lower back. Feel that space in the back of the body as you inhale, exhale. So if you did this for any length of time, you'd probably find yourself slowly falling forwards. The body gives and lets you do a little bit more that way, but you have to wait for it to invite you to move forward. So roll up then, tucking the tummy. So a lot of these positions I'm showing you, you can take singly, you can do one at a time. You don't need to do a full yoga practice to do them. They're just helpful, particularly for runners or walkers, to stretch out afterwards. Okay, so keep a hold of the brick, and now we're coming down onto our back. I'm going to come sideways here because this is going to look a bit weird otherwise. So come onto our back, we're going to take bridge. So take your brick and pop it between your thighs, right up at your perineum, right up at the top of your thighs, and then squeeze your thighs together. Have your heels as close to your bottom, remember, as you can. Hands can be facing downwards. You'll have a little bit more support on your palms, or facing upwards, or you can bring your arms into it. We're taking 3 bridge rolls here on the breath. So inhaling, find that pelvic tilt on the exhale. Then the next inhale, roll the knees up, moving them away from you, opening up the thighs, squeezing the inner thighs, rolling up to the top of the spine, and then exhaling back down. You can use the arms, as I say, if you want to do that as well, but it's more about the spine here. So second one, we're inhaling and rolling the knees forward. The pelvic tilt is hopefully engaged. And then exhaling, rolling back down. Last one, inhale. Feeling it open in the front of the body across the hip flexors. Let them soften as you roll back down, letting the hips come last down to the floor. Keep the brick in your hand and move it down now to kind of between your knees. And then we're going to draw the knees towards our chest. So switch your tummies on and draw your knees towards you as if you're coming into wind pose, Asanas. And then we're taking a twist here. So options here before we go into it. Keep the bricks between the knees, which gives a little bit of a different sensation and keeps the hips square. But if you find your legs don't go over enough and you want to go a little bit further, take the brick out and use it as support under your lower leg. Or you can use 2 bricks if you've got 2 bricks handy. Okay, so tummy's all engaged, and then we're slowly letting our knees drop over. I'm going right, so I'm letting them roll over my right hip to the point where there's a kind of stopping point, and then you have to let go a little bit more through the side body on the left. Let the left shoulder come with you if it wants to, until your feet and knees feel happily supported on the floor or on a brick. And then rotate your head gently to look towards your left shoulder. Open the left palm upwards. See if that releases your left shoulder a little bit more. You can always shuffle slightly a centimetre or so to your right, and it might mean that you can spread a bit more across your upper chest. Wherever you are, your knees may have gone a bit further away from you, that's fine. We're thinking about the hips here, so 3 breaths in and out, thinking of the lower hip and trying to use the exhale to soften that lower hip. It's the upper hip we're stretching, but it won't be able to unless the lower hip lets go. So use your exhale to let that bottom leg switch off. Switch on the parasympathetic nervous system. You might feel you want to stay in these positions a bit longer. Unfortunately, we haven't got that long to do it. After your 3rd breath, we're going to draw the tummies in, draw the knees a little bit closer to us, rotate the head up to look up above you again, and then roll back up to center. Take a second there, and then rolling over to the other side. Same thing, brick between the knees or brick under the leg, whichever you'd rather. Let the upper shoulder come with you till the legs are comfortably on the floor, because they won't relax unless they are. So they have to be supported by something, or your body will be holding on. So the upper shoulder may be right up in the air. Don't worry about it. Let the legs let go. And then rotate your head if it's comfortable to look towards your right shoulder. Open the right palm. See if you can find that give, that softening a little bit through your right shoulder. Let the knees move away from you if they feel they want to, just so you can find that give. And then find your breath and direct it to your lower leg, to your lower hip. Switching on that PNS, as I said, then your body knows this is what you want to do. It relaxes, the muscles give, and the sensation goes a bit deeper. So it's upper body we're stretching here, but as I say, if you don't get rid of the contraction in the lower body, you won't get the same benefit on the upper body. Trying to find that openness. So then we're drawing our tummies in, we're drawing our head back up to center, draw our knees a little bit more towards your chest, roll back up into center. Take the brick out of your hands, pop your feet to the floor. Take them further away from you at the width of your mat and do some windscreen wipers again. Okay, so just to finish off, we're bringing ourselves into Apanasana again. So one leg at a time, coming up towards us, taking a hold of our knees with our hands, and then just do some hip circles, one way and the other, as big or as little as you feel you want to do. Just thinking of stirring off the pot. Everything should be quite flowy and smooth in your hips now. It should feel a little bit less sticky to make these circles, to stir round about your joint. Make sure you go both ways. And then bring your feet to the floor, stretch out, have a full body stretch if you want. Both sides, maybe side right and left. And then when you're ready, roll over onto your side, come back up to Apanasana to finish in, not Apanasana, sorry, Sukhasana, to finish our practice this morning. So again, you can go into Shavasana there. If anybody wants to go back into these twists, or if something felt really good, then take it. There are little dip samples of what you can do to loosen off your hips, and just using the brick might have brought a different experience in. Okay, so we find the breath again. Let's bring our hands to heart center. Let's find our length through our crown, drawing our tummies in. Noticing which hip you preferred there by crossing the legs, just out of interest. Bring the heart a little bit closer to your thumbs. And then find your breath. Let's take 3 breaths together to finish. Inhaling tall. Exhaling, softening. Through both nostrils if it's available. Oh, that sunshine's warming me up. Last breath, in tall, really feel the energy and the power from the breath. Find that space and freedom. Exhale, soften, release. And just let the breath go. Notice any resonance in your hips, particularly from our practice. Particularly notice the resonance in your mind. So thank you everybody from Mont Blanc Yoga. Thank you for your practice. I hope it's all worked out here. We might be inside tomorrow because I think it's going to rain. So enjoy the view while you can, and namaste.